Hey everyone, welcome back to the Flyin podcast. Unfortunately, we did not have a great result from last night, but we're moving right along. We got Inter Miami coming up on this Wednesday. I think Sam, the guys were just getting ready for that game. Let's just chalk it up to that. What do you think? How are we doing tonight, Sam?
Yeah, definitely got a bad taste in my mouth after watching last night. But I guess the best thing to do is to move on to, you know, another incredible game that we are, very grateful to witness as an FC Cincinnati fan. And um, yeah, it's very, very much a very hard on to the next game type mentality here.
We waited 16 days for that.
Yeah, for that. Yeah.
I think we can kind of echo, the way that we feel is probably the way that everyone else feels. Um, just a brutal game. I mean, for those who didn't watch or hear, I don't know where you were to not hear about it, but we lost 3-0, just a ugly game from start to finish. I wouldn't say like necessarily from like very, very start though, Sam. We see the lineup right away and immediately I got concerned. I think like everyone did about the back line. Um, Definitely made me a little bit nervous, even going into it. I think
Yeah.
again, everyone kind of felt that way. If you just look at who we rolled out in the back line. So Sam, to kind of answer your question from the last podcast, we go with Roman Celentano in goal. Kind of a good statement by Pat that he trusts Celentano in the MLS season. And to be honest, he was arguably our best player. Maybe a sneak peek later on in the episode for that. But I think he played really well. What did you think of Roman?
Yeah, I thought, Roman was one of the bright spots. You know, he still his movement on some of the shots just were a little bit, slower, right, than what we were accustomed to at the beginning of the season. And kind of throughout the season, he's been able to keep, I think, what, 8 or 9 clean sheets throughout the seson right now.
Second in the league,
Um,
I think. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So he was good. He had some great saves, but a lot of those saves it was the same save. It was a dive to the left. I don't think he had to dive to the right once, the entire game. But uh, it's not much you can do, especially when you have a back line like that, right? So Roman's standing on his head for most of the game, um, and it's tough to see. It really is because once again we know how talented Roman is as a goalkeeper, and it's to put him behind a back line like that and try and do the best to his abilities is a tough task for sure.
Yeah, I think like he probably looked at the lineup too and was like, man, this is my first game back. I mean,
You're
you have
giving me this,
Barrial. Yeah, you have
yeah,
Barrial there. I mean, he's been there all season. In the kind of middle three there, you end up having Gaddis, Murphy, and Haglin. And then you have Pow out on the right. So using a couple of, maybe right backs as center backs, maybe Murphy being a little bit young and kind of up and down this year is probably the best way to describe him in some of his play. But um, yeah, I agree with you, Sam. I mean, Salentano looks at that and he's like, oh man, here we go. But you have a pretty normal, midfield. You have Moreno, you have Obi, which a lot of times are kind of like the stopgaps in the midfield that prevent a lot of balls coming through that, maybe are shielding our back line a little bit from things. But it really showed last night how important, we've been talking about it all year long, is just Miazga's presence, Mosquera's presence, even though he's young, just commanding the back line, commanding the defense, commanding
yeah.
where we're playing out of. And we lacked that just from the beginning of the game on, like true and true, all the way through. So,
Yeah, I mean, to kind of just touch on the game as a whole, it was just we had no energy.
mhm.
No energy whatsoever from start to finish.
For a rivalry game, I mean, that's
Yeah,
just ridiculous. You
and
can't come out flat against your rival. You
yeah,
can't.
we just seemed completely disinterested in the game. Like it
Yeah.
was we didn't want the ball at all. we were just giving the ball up like it was Halloween and we were giving out candy. Like that's exactly what it was. And you know, if we're gonna, call out the back line or call out the midfield, the two liabilities that stood out to me were Moreno and Hagelin. Those were the two guys to me that stood
Yeah.
out the most as far as liabilities. Moreno, he needs to be held more accountable. I don't
Hmm.
really think he's doing much this second half of the season in the midfield. Him stepping to the balls that Morris was shooting, like that was
The
great effort.
the
Yeah,
lack thereof of effort. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if it's like so let's bring it back to the beginning of the game at least. We get about, I don't know, 8 minutes in, and we create a good opportunity. Vasquez puts a shot on goal, and I'm thinking, we actually have something going there, but you don't really build off of that. And then from there, you really even see you're playing against a team with their backup, or assistant coach as their main guy because their head coach had been suspended. So, maybe they don't have, their full, I don't even know, team message is what I want to say, but they seem to have a good identity that they want to establish possession, and they dominated in that. I mean, first half, what was it, like 70-30, I think was the ending stat, or
So it
60-40.
felt like it. Yeah, it was like 64, you know, 36, something like that. Yeah.
But to your point, I mean, like, yeah, like it wears you down when you're chasing the ball like that all the time. But at the same token, like we had chances. It wasn't like we didn't. I mean, we had a few good opportunities, but when I say chances, I mean like you're on the ball, you're trying to like get something working. We couldn't even establish a rhythm of passes like you've seen earlier on in the season. That for me was the hardest part to watch, is like you said, Sam, like careless mistake after careless mistake, and playing your guy in space, or knowing where your guy's going to run to play him into space, or you know playing your target striker to even try to build it out of the back. It seemed like every time we were second to the ball, we were second to the 50-50s, and we just didn't seem to overall want to be there, like you had mentioned, which again, in a rivalry game, you have all your fans coming up to watch it and everything. I get there's a huge game on Wednesday, but you just got to come out with more energy, even if you know that your back line is not the greatest. Like, just show your effort. That is all we're asking.
Yeah, the offense is, I mean, the whole team's liable. They are, but I think we did, to your point, we did see glimpses of the impact that Vasquez, Bupenza, Acosta can have up front. Like we saw that. It was evident. They just need a little bit more time to gel, but yeah, they looked out of sync as well, right? So we need to see that all the time. Like if we just see flashes, it's not going to do us any good, really. And I think them looking kind of out of sync really stands true when you look at the stats. We had 5 offsides to the Columbus Crew's 0. Like that's just not, to your point, not being on the same page, right? When you're looking to play a through ball, or you're looking to play, across the field or something, you just have to be on the same page as your teammates, and that's just it just wasn't working. To Bupenza's point, he was getting in spaces that we needed him to. The man can't finish. He like I Right now he can't finish. I understand, he was a Golden Boot winner, and that's what we expect from him when we got him, right? Right now he's just not he's not showing it. And it's unfortunate to see. It is, because we've watched the highlights, we've done our homework on him as fans, and for him to be known as this 1v1 guy, being able to play, and kind of scare the defenders in front of him. The Columbus Crew, like their back line's not anything special. Like it's nothing special, nothing that, us FC Cincinnati hasn't already put 3 goals
It
on,
wasn't
right?
anything
So
to, yeah, to your point, it wasn't anything that they did. It was the lack of us, not doing the correct things. Like I said, the first opportunity by Vasquez, if he puts that away, it changes the whole first half. It
yeah,
changes our energy. We get up for the game more. I mean, you look at the final scoreline being 3-0 and you're like, dang, you got killed. But if you break it down to, if you finish your chances, like I've said time after time, half chances change the game. If you have an opportunity and you fail to score on those, you're not going to win, or you're not going to be competitive. And that, it seems, unfortunately, I wouldn't say a trend. I mean, because in the last 5 games that we've played, we've come from behind and at least tied it in a few of them and come back to win, some of them as well. So it's not like we couldn't do that, but this game just really showed any lack of effort. I saw, even your captain Acosta's kind of just walking around yelling at Bupenza. I mean, that was kind of frustrating to see. They were completely on the wrong page the entire night. You said Vasquez's name one time for that shot in the first half, and then I don't think I heard it again. I mean, he didn't really get on the ball either or create anything. So, yeah, I mean, is that a coaching thing for us to, have them take those guys out of the game or to get them frustrated? I don't know, man. You have 16 days to prepare for this team, and you come out with that lack of anything, communication, lack of energy. Like I said, the energy part is the part that gets me the most upset about it. But yeah, it was just on all fronts, just ready to move on past it.
From a positive aspect, though, I mean, we saw good things from specific, Halsey, right?
Yeah,
The guy plays 17 minutes, but it's the best 17 minutes that I saw of the entire game for us. Like, you know,
energetic.
exactly. We saw flashes from, Santos brought some energy into the game as well as, I mean,
Kubo.
yeah,
He did well in some
he
aspects, I
did
felt
well.
like.
I would say the last goal is on him, and it starts up in
Yeah.
the midfield. His awful attempt at a tackle there in the midfield
Yeah.
kind of just let them into our half, and that's kind of what created that third goal there. But I mean, for the most part, he did bring the energy. So I guess I'll let it go since the game's pretty much out of hand
Yeah.
at that point anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We're kind of all over the place in the way we were describing. I think we're just trying to spill out all of our emotion just from last night because it's just seems like so bottled, and this is a good outlet to kind of
Well,
talk about it.
it's
But
making something out of nothing.
oh, for
Like,
sure. Yeah. And that's the truth of it. I mean, what do you say? You just chalk it off to, hey, look, you gotta be better. I mean, but going back a little bit, let's back up just a slight amount here. Earlier on in the game, we concede first, like Sam had mentioned. We don't step out enough on Aiden Morris's shot. Um, I felt like even if you pressure him a little bit more, it challenges him in the way that he has time to even set up for it. But then, only 5-10 minutes later, you concede a PK. I mean, that's just another thing that you get even more frustrated by. I mean, it happens. I mean, the arm was up. I think it was a PK, but and
yeah.
then you're down 2-0, you get frustrated, you try to maybe force things a little bit. Um, and that's when I think we kind of got stuck at the end of the half into some interesting calls for sure. I mean, there was definitely some situations that I felt like the ref could have done better with. Namely, I can think of one in particular, Sam, if you know what I'm referring to, when there was an elbow to the face on Lucho Acosta. But then prior, apparently there was another elbow and our guy gets a yellow on it. So I don't know
Yeah.
where that comes in. And
Yeah,
again, the ref
those
didn't dictate the whole game, but there was just frustrations that just added to things. And it was hard to watch that part too.
Yeah, I mean that both sequences were a little confusing to understand. I think the the elbow to Acosta, I think, it's a blatant like smack in the face pretty much. I would say. Um and then as far as on our end, the elbow, when you slow it down, it it doesn't look good for us when you slow it down. But in the moment, I think it should, in the moment, right? Like I said, it should have gone our way in the moment. But you do slow it down and you see, what happens first rather than, the elbow that comes or the grab that comes, right? So yeah, I don't think once again, I we've said on this podcast before, all of us, we don't really have too much respect for Ted Uncle as a ref. So, you know, was this a terribly ref game? Uh,
Yeah.
it was okay. Like it
Yeah, it
wasn't.
wasn't like the worst either. I agree.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst,
I
but
think it was just the timing of the calls that were frustrating. And then
yes, yeah,
because of how they score and they go up early, and then you get those questionable decisions, it just kind of adds to your frustration. I think what was most interesting, you've seen a little bit more of a subdued Pat Noonan this year. Even, his assistant coaches like to kind of chirp things out as well. I've noticed that. Um, they've been around, especially Dom Kinnear. He's been a head coach before. He knows a lot of these, refs. But I thought that why am I blanking on his name? Kenny Arena, gets a yellow right before halftime because he's yelling. And I think that really shows you how frustrated the coaching staff was by how bad we were playing and that their plans weren't really going to what they wanted. I think that showed more that side of things on like, hey, you're down 2-0 and then all this happens and they're just like, guys, we can't be doing this. But
yeah.
I don't know what you thought about that scenario of the bench getting a yellow even during the game, not even just the players, but some of the coaches.
I appreciated the fact that they cared enough to get a card on the bench.
Is it a situation like in baseball where like the manager goes out and like tries to get ejected to get the team fired up?
I mean, that could have been a possibility. Obviously, it did not work, but
No.
it clearly baseball tactics do not work in a soccer game, right? So we can check that one off the list that does not work, right?
Yeah.
For anybody that wants to be a coach out there, possibly it
Right.
does not
Right.
work. All right, so but yeah, I appreciated the passion from the bench. It is just unfortunate that didn't translate onto the field.
Yeah. Yeah, true. So we come out of half, we have a little bit more energy. We start to create a little bit more chances for like 5 minutes, and then it's just like nothing. I mean, just more frustration, more disconnected passing. I felt like Barrial was out of position and like gas the whole game. I've never seen him like so lackadaisical to get back to his left back position. I don't know if like a impending transfer or the interest that he's getting is weighing on him or if he's looking, to Wednesday night. He just seemed disinterested in the game as a whole. Even from the first couple minutes in the game, they were playing balls through that normally he kind of breaks up or at least, recovers well to, that I really didn't think that, he did a great job at doing. Um, I don't know if it was him trying to be more active in the attack, could be a possibility that he wasn't getting back, but usually, he's got Mascara next to him and he can rely on him covering the ground. And if he's going to be up more, then Murphy's got to cover him. And he didn't do a great job at that, especially with having Gressel out there on the width. I thought that was going to be an interesting matchup between the two of them. Um, I think he does better normally in that scenario. And if I remember, Gressel came in off the bench in Vancouver earlier on in the year, and the same thing happened with Barrial. They just kept getting balls in. Um, the dude's played again a lot of minutes, a lot of minutes, but you have 16 days between, the last game and this game. Like he should be more than ready to be able to put in a shift.
Yeah.
And then they pull in with 20 minutes left, which just sends the message of we don't really even want to be in this game anymore. We put in Halsey, we put in some other guys. We take Hagelin out at halftime. I mean, it was like more of a let's try to protect these guys for Wednesday type thing, which is like I see their point to it, but that's not the way they've been all year. They've been let's try to win every game we can. So kind of unusual, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that is, to your point, that's a very unusual, kind of feeling in with Pat's lineups, right? That's very much been the case and very evident. Like, hey, we're here to win every single game. It
Yeah.
was like that in Leagues Cup. We were expecting a little bit more youth in Leagues Cup, and that did not happen. And we were like, okay, we're here for this. This is great. And then we have, 2 weeks off, and we continue to say 2 weeks off and we get this, right? But yeah, the whole second half, the whole game, just it's not even worth talking about
No.
anymore, really. I mean, it's beating a dead horse. It really is,
Yeah.
because you know we can say all we want to say right now, but the reality is, it is on the next game, and they better have a fire lit up, underneath them playing at home again.
Well, that's a good point. I was just gonna touch on the like a fire being lit under them. Is it a message by the coaching staff that they take them off at the end of the game? Like normally we would keep you guys in, but you're playing so bad. I need to send a message. Like you
Oh
guys don't
yeah,
even deserve to be on this field right now.
yeah,
Like we're gonna get people out there that are gonna actually play. And like your point earlier, like the subs actually came in and started to actually be interested in playing, or to show some energy. Um, Obviously too little too late. So again, I agree with you, Sam. I don't think we need to keep touching on any rest of the game in that aspect. But I saw some comments that, Pat is saying like, maybe this is a wake up call, or I think Vasquez had said something like that too. And I'm like, you need a game like this to be your wake up call. You're in first place. Everyone's going to be gunning for your neck. It's a rivalry game. I mean, what do you mean it's a wake up call? I mean, you got to come out like every game. Everyone's gunning for you.
yeah.
So the rust was real. Let's just call it, instead of hell is real, let's call it the rust was real.
Yeah, yeah. Last week's episode was nostalgia is real. It's the rust is real this week, right?
Rust is real. So I guess we can move along a little bit. Touching on, I guess, some notes from the rest of Leagues Cup finished up. What a crazy game that was, Sam. I don't know if you had a chance to watch. I think actually we were chatting about it while it was going on. Nashville against Inter Miami, but holy crap, man. I don't know who I wanted to win, but as a neutral, what a game of soccer that was.
Well, yeah, as an FC Cincinnati fan, I didn't want either team to win,
Yeah.
but yeah, as a neutral, as somebody that's new to the MLS or getting into it, or is just a Messi fan, that definitely lived up to the hype for sure.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I don't know if the big speculation now coming out of Leagues Cup was, is the MLS going to implement this no extra time rule? Um, I bless you. I think that's the first on the podcast. Nice sneeze there, Sam. Um,
Kept it quiet. Kept it quiet.
that was pretty impressive. Everyone, I think even over in England, I saw a couple tweets of people that were like, you know what, I really kind of like the idea of no extra time and going straight to PKs. So if there's anything crazy that came out of that, I don't know what your thoughts are, of maybe, going straight from regular time into a PK shootout for things.
For for a final like that, I think it's justified. But for the rest of the games, I think it adds more for the rest, for the either the group stage or round
True.
of 32, round of 16. Like, I think it just makes sense to do the extra time to see who the best team at the end of the game is, because sometimes when you do go straight to penalty kicks, that doesn't really show you who the best team was the entire game, right?
That's
It's just
valid.
who's going to be better in that moment, like right there, right? So any momentum that could be carried into an extra time is nowhere to be found because you have to show up in PKs. So I did appreciate that in the final. I did like that for a final because it got right to the action. It was like, okay, like let's do PKs right here,
Right.
right now. And that's a feel for a final, but I don't think that should be the format for every single game.
Yeah, I mean, definitely from a player standpoint, that's a good point too, because you feel like you're in it more during extra time and that you have a viable chance where you kind of take things out of your hands when it comes down to a 1v1 kind of just ball on the spot versus the keeper. And you kind of put it on one individual, if you want to say putting on the keeper, but that's kind of essentially what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's dependent on how your keeper plays versus how your team is playing in the moment. Going into a 15 plus 15-minute extra time where you actually have time to still do things. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
good point with that.
To Soccer Don's point, he was talking about the end of Leagues Cup there, or I guess before the game. I think before the match, he was talking
Hmm.
about changes that could come, right? And he was like, absolutely, we're going to look into changes and tweaking this thing to see, possibly are other leagues going to come into it, or
Right.
how do we best communicate with Liga MX to get the best um, kind of format in place for the tournament, right? Or the right kind of way to go about things. And so I thought, him constantly wanting to tweak things and make things better, like I appreciate that about him. However, there are certain things that do not need to be tweaked and that are just it it's soccer, or it's football,
Right. Right.
right? And that's how it is. Like that's how it should always be. So I'm interested to see the changes that they make for next year, because from what it sounds like from him, like it sounds like there will be changes. It just depends on where at, right? And I think from a game presentation standpoint, I think we've talked plenty about what
Hmm.
needs to change there.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I mean, I guess on presentation, you're referring to Leagues Cup in the way that they've kind of put together their start of the games, their intros and everything. And
yeah,
I would agree with that. I think this might be a, premature card for me. It'll be kind of like a side card here.
yeah.
Um, Inter Miami ends up winning in PKs. The keepers go down to this shootout. That was kind of cool to see those guys go against each other. Inter Miami wins. Messi hands off the armband for DeAndre Yedlin, the former captain, to kind of lift it. That's kind of cool. I think that's cool. But
Yeah.
I don't know if you had the chance to see it today. They were talking about the trophy, and Miami had a photo of the trophy now at their stadium. Did you happen to see the engraving of Inter Miami on the actual trophy?
No, I did not.
Oh my gosh, for those who are listening, go and Google search this or look it up on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Um, it looks like a 5-year-old did the engraving, Sam. It's really bad. It looks like they just hand did it in the moment, and it was probably some like salty Nashville person that like wrote it on there, but it looks so bad, man.
Well, I mean, it's the very first engraving on the League's Cup. So
I mean, I guess does that mean each team gets the League's Cup every year, like a different one? Because there was like it was written at the very top, and I'm not even kidding you. It looks like a 5-year-old just like hand wrote it on there.
yeah, I mean, I would assume that they're just gonna do a new one for every year.
Yeah, probably.
I would kind of like if they passed it around. That would be kind of cool. But
Yeah. It's a big trophy too. I mean, it's a
yeah, it's a
massive
huge
trophy.
cereal bowl.
Yeah, it looked like the size of the Stanley Cup. Like, I don't know, Stanley Cup's pretty big. But just width wise and I
I
don't
would
know.
say width. Yeah, let's go with
Width
width
wise, yeah.
because height Stanley Cup's pretty big.
Yeah. Now, Sam and I both had kind of like said like we were neutral. Don't let him like fool you in some ways. Like we didn't want Messi to win it. I mean, coming up with the fact that we're playing them on Wednesday, like some part of us was like, we want to see Nashville, like, actually do something and beat Messi. But at the same time, it's Nashville. I mean, this FC Cincinnati podcast and we're FC Cincinnati fans. We don't want Nashville to win either. So that was difficult, but I spam quit that broadcast as soon as Miami won. I didn't even watch the trophy
Oh no.
presentation.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? Good game. All right.
That's right.
I'm gonna go to
Your
bed.
opponent has left the match.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, Sam, did you want to touch on anything else here on the first part of the podcast?
No, I think once again, I think we've touched good and well on the game from yesterday and the Columbus Crew game. I just hope that maybe, and this may just be me, wanting to get back at the Crew fans and players and that whole, fan base franchise, but I want to meet them in the playoffs. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I want to meet them in the playoffs so
With
that
a
way
full
we can
squad
get a
too. I
good
mean,
taste in our mouth.
yeah, left a bad taste, but and it's so funny to me. Like we were chirping online with some Crew fans about it, and like they own Ohio. It's like we tied the series this year, and they're like, well, the aggregate's better for us. And I'm
I'm
like,
sorry, is there an aggregate and a
there's
regular?
none. Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you talking about? Um, I just ridiculous things like that. I mean, we didn't have our starting center backs. That definitely changes the game. I mean, I don't know how you overlook that point. All the broadcasts that I was watching, even like the MLS 360 after, oh, this is a statement, the league is put on notice. It's like the league was put on notice that Matt Miazga and Mascara didn't start the game, and there's a huge gaping hole in the back line. Like,
Yeah.
we can make excuses all we want. I mean, if you want to consider that an excuse, we still had to play better. We still didn't play well enough. We could have even potentially played for a draw. But, as we've touched on, we're beating a dead horse now. But the
On to
energy just
Miami.
had to be
On
better.
to Miami. Yeah.
On to Miami. I'm hoping that, Mascara and Miazga are good. We'll touch on that on the second part here. So let's go to our sponsor here, and we'll be right back with you guys.
So Agility is a technology-driven soccer training facility. So we offer 6 facets of training. That would be Tech Touch with ball launchers that work on your first touch, the TSZ, which is the ESA equipment and working on decision making. We also have a circuit. Circuit training would be taking the ESA equipment to the next level. It's kind of like a soccer obstacle course. Then we offer neuroscience training with our reflection tools, working on processing things a little bit faster, hand-eye coordination and such. We offer skills classes, which is your typical core skills training. Lots of people still enjoy that, so we work on a lot of attacking 1v1 skills. And then we also offer athlete development. So our athletes come here and they work on speed, agility, quickness, explosive movements, really just learning how to move and function a little bit better as an athlete.
Welcome back, everyone. We're in the second part of this episode here where the rust was real in the first half. Hopefully the second half will be better, unlike the guys yesterday. Sam, I wanted to ask you this question though, real quick. First time on the podcast, we haven't gotten to do our trivia before the break, but I got a great question for you. Are you ready for it?
Yeah. Hit me.
How many current FC Cincinnati players have played against Messi in their career, club or international ball? Props if you can name both of them / all of them.
Did you just give it away?
I don't know. Did I?
Do I change my answer because of based off of that? I mean,
Both, all. There might be a little. There might be a lot.
that's
I'm
hilarious.
getting in your head now.
You're not, but that's fine. I had a number, but then since you said that, I just want to get it right. Um, all
Well, tell
right.
me who
Well,
they are then.
okay,
Tell me
yeah.
who they are then.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna go 2. I think that's the right answer. Um, but as far as players, my first one is Miazga
Okay.
because of international play.
Okay.
Um, the second one, I'm gonna go with Kubo.
All right.
Those are my 2 picks.
So the question changed over the course of the question being asked, but I like it. All right, we'll stay tuned until the end of the episode, and you'll find out who those players were.
Cool.
Cool. Moving right along to we'll do our jersey swaps. We can do whatever you want it to be. I mean, there wasn't a lot of great stuff from the past game, but did you see anything good from this crew game? Anything at all?
I mean, we touched on him a little earlier, and I know he was our jersey swap last week. And he only played 17 minutes, but I'm gonna go with Brett Halsey for my jersey swap. Did not have anything to choose from on the roster, in my opinion. Thought about some other players, but Halsey bringing the energy. The only bright spot, in my opinion, from that game, created chances, was, moving with the ball, electric, trying to figure out a way to win for us, which, from the other players, I didn't really see too much. But yeah, he looked like he cared, and I appreciated that. And so he's my jersey swap of the week. Pretty simple.
Yeah, he should be the backup I think from this point on, for sure, he's kind of earned it. We've hammered on the fact that he's taken over Isaiah Foster's like spot because the dude hasn't really even played at all. But they show confidence in Halsey, even if the game's kind of out of hand, that he's going to come in and he's going to try to make a difference. And he actually seemed a little bit more connected with some people than some of the other players, even the starters, to be honest with you. I don't think he's a starting caliber guy yet, but I would trust him for some sequences. So definitely a good shout for your jersey swap.
Yeah. What about you?
Mine is going to be, man, I was going back and forth. I thought the subs did great, like we had touched on earlier, but I'm going to go with the FC Cincinnati supporting fans. I've been there, especially in Columbus. We had a huge supporter, contingent up there in the corner. Before the game, they were loud, they were passionate. They brought more energy collectively than any single player did throughout the entire game. We were ready. We had 16 days to get ready for this game, and we're always amped up for this, rivalry. So, guys, good job. Great job to the traveling Bailey. You're my jersey swap of the week.
Yeah, I mean, credit to them, seeing the pictures and the video, like you had said, a very large section we had. And, I hope that the FC players kind of can go back and look at Twitter, look at, how impactful their fans actually were up in that, corner of the stadium up there. I think they should have looked up there more often to see how much they were chanting for them, right? And giving their energy towards the game. I think you need to do that as a player more often. And that's where your energy should come from, especially during an away match, especially during a rivalry like this. You need to look up into that, corner of the stadium to see where your supporter section, no matter how big it is, to be honest with you, and just see the passion that comes from, what they're trying to do for you.
I mean, if we're going to really build it to be like a European type rivalry where, we're not going to have flares and stuff like that, but like, we're 90 miles away. There's so much passion. Like, these guys got to feed off of that. They have to understand the moment. You can't overlook games like this. As much as I want to just move on and whatever, but it sets the tone, or maybe like they said, a wake up, just to be like, look, you need to relook the way that you're going into these games.
Yeah.
So
That rolls right into my card of the week.
yeah, let's hear it, Sam. What was your card of the week?
Yeah, so straight up, my card of the week is complacency. Um, once again, just beating the crap out of it. But we had 2 weeks to prepare for what FCC fans regard as one of the biggest games of the season. When the schedule comes out, regardless of who we're playing in Leagues Cup or Open Cup or any of the other cups, you look at the regular season games, and circled on the calendar every year is the home and away matches against the Columbus Crew. Those mean the most to us as fans. And so I just didn't appreciate the whole vibe of the team and the game. The result continues to feed into the narrative that we are, the Crew's little brother still, right? And I want the players to care about that. I want them to just, hey, all right, like, let's fix this narrative, right? And so to this complacency point, we're still 8 points clear, but the Revs have a game in hand, right? So they're going to be on our butt if we don't, continue to strive and continue to look for that supporter shield. But 4-5-3 on the road, like, that's horrendous. It's just not acceptable. And, we're not only going for a trophy, but we were on track for records. We were on track for records. And right now, in my standpoint, it feels like we're settling for just a trophy.
Yeah, man, complacency is the best way to put it. I was like thinking about this, after the game all today. Like, if we want to be legendary, you can't lose to your rival like that and not even show up. Maybe you have 1 or 2 games where St. Louis, it's a fluke. There's a big rain delay. But if you want to be legendary, you want to set records, you want to win trophies, you got to show it every game. You got to bring it. We bring it. Our supporters bring it, Flyin Lion podcast brings it every week. But, it's just got to be better. And today I saw Lucho on Instagram saying we're all together. Bring them together and say, look, we're still in first. They're still in fourth. They might have played this game better, but as a season, this is your opportunity. I'm calling them out right now. This is your time to win trophies. This is it, man. Look at the guys that we have. Top to bottom, every position. You got to do it. You got to go for it. You got to bring it, man. And I'm just ready to see them on Wednesday with that mentality. I'm ready for them just to say, look, this is a golden opportunity, a golden moment, one shining moment, right? NCAA tournament reference right there. It's one shining moment, man. I mean, I hate to put the pressure on the players like that, but Vasquez is probably gone. Barrial is probably gone. Obi, there's some question if he's going to be around. Celentano, I'm sure, is going to get some looks at some point too. You can't keep all these guys forever. So go for it now. Do it. Win. I mean, I've seen stuff out there on Twitter about how we should just be focused on the league. That's nonsense. Do Pat's mentality. Win every game. Win every freaking game. Win your battle. Win your positional challenge. And you'll have good results. So I look forward to a huge response in the games coming up. I went on a huge tangent there. I'm sorry.
So that was my card. So what was your card?
My card was gonna be Ted Uncle, but the more and more I thought about it, like there was some questionable calls, and we already chatted about it earlier. To be honest, I'm gonna call out the MLS and the way that they put a rivalry game on a Sunday night. That's just absolute ridiculous. You want people to go and you want to build these rivalries up, and then you put it on a Sunday night. Like, come on, that's just dumb. I mean, we've said it before. They've done this before too. Have they not learned? I mean, if you want to keep building your league and you want to build these rivalries, put it on a different night. Don't put it on a Sunday night. I don't care if it's the summer. I don't care if it's the first game back after 2 weeks. I don't care if there was Leagues Cup the night before. Saturday night, man. Friday or Saturday night, you would have maybe had, a little bit more than the Crew had. I don't know if they would have had a sellout or not. Sam, I think you might have had a tweet about that, but
oh yeah, I did. Yeah. Because there was a fan that was like, oh, this is like the seventh straight game of like 20,000 plus or something like that. And I was like, hey, like, call me when you can fill it, every single game 25 plus.
Their capacity is only like 21 or something.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
watch the broadcast, man. They had empty seats for a rivalry game there. Empty seats in some places, and there's a lot of orange and blue. So again, shout out back to my jersey swap. But we're moving on. Let's talk about Inter Miami. So Wednesday night, by the time you guys are watching this, tomorrow night, US Open Cup semifinal game. The boys are in a Final Four game to go to the finals. We're playing, again, an Inter Miami team that just won Leagues Cup, another inter-season tournament. They've kind of been on a roll, but they got to be tired, man. They got to be at some point sick of traveling all over the place. But Messi's been through this before. He's played Barcelona, he's played at PSG. He's done Champions League, different places. So they'll be ready to go. We better freaking bring it. Because, hey, if you play like this, against Messi and Inter Miami, they're going to dominate you. I said it all last night, Sam. They're going to they don't care.
Well, that's the point that I made with Moreno not stepping to the ball. You don't think Messi's going to just absolutely crush every single one of those chances. You give him a sliver of hope, and he's going to put it in top bins easily. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, so coming into this game, fresh off a Leagues Cup victory, first trophy in Inter Miami history, good for them. Woohoo. We're here for ours now. This is just another step in, our first trophy for MLS. And, I hope I hope we stop Messi from getting his 45th trophy of all time. Like that's insane. Like he's got 44 of everything, and it's not fair. It really is. It's not fair. But yeah, they've won 7 in a row, all in Leagues Cup. So
7 in a
I
row
think
after losing 11 in a row prior to that.
yeah, the difference that one of the best players in the world can really make is pretty crazy, along with his two Barcelona buddies, right? Busquets and Alba. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think what we have going for us in this game is the fact that it's a home game. I mean,
Yeah, straight
the
up.
fact that we can play at home and we can actually the whole crowd can get into it, and for good or for bad, tell our players like how much this game means to us, right? So I don't think we should have to do that every game. They should already know it and already won it, like we've touched on, in the podcast already. But yeah, I think this will be a good game. This will be a fun game.
We're going to have a response. I don't know what your opinion of the fact that if we would have tied or even won against Columbus, do we come in a little bit more complacent because we haven't been pushed? This is the first time this year we've had 2 losses in a row, and we're going 2 losses in a row straight into playing Messi, who won this tournament. And they're vibing, they're playing well, and we're probably the worst we've looked all season. What a better time to get your guys inspired to play and gear up for this,
Yeah. I mean,
to
be kind of like the Giant Slayers, kind of. I
for
mean,
sure take on the
Miami's
underdog role, man.
yeah, Miami's not a Giant Slayer, but to your point, the underdog role, right? 2017, we were playing the underdog role, right? Back in the semifinals of the Open Cup. I want to see that same mentality. I
True.
want to see that same vibe,
True.
that underdog mentality that got us to that Open Cup semifinal. The same team that went up 2-0. Unfortunately, we lost in extra time, but it was that same energy of I don't care who you are. We know who we are, and we know we're not the favorites, and we don't care. We're just gonna play soccer, right? And gonna play our
Goosebumps.
butt off.
Sam, that was
Like
beautiful.
that's what I want to see. I want to see that same energy
That was
and
the magic that made us
who we are.
fans.
Yeah.
That is what made us fans of this team.
Yeah.
Just the
That
energy. I was at that game, dude.
Yeah.
I should have mentioned it on our last one on nostalgia, because you're exactly right. I never had a better moment of feeling like so proud of the city, of fans of this soccer team, to say like no one expected us to be in this position, and here we are, and this year we've been top of the league, but you're playing a team that probably shouldn't even be in this position if it weren't for
Three
Messi,
players. Yeah.
but they did it without Messi to get to the semifinal. So, how does that make them feel? They got there without him, and then they're riding this high.
Yeah.
We are coming out like hopefully just crazy inspired, ready to just destroy.
To your point of inspiration, I think that there's got to be a player from the 2017 team that has to do the sword pull.
That'd be pretty cool.
That has to be it, right?
That'd be pretty cool.
Somebody
We're away
from
from
that
Leagues Cup
2017 team.
crap, like whatever. Hopefully this US Open Cup setup thing is like not staggered entrances and like
so that way we can't do something. Yeah.
Like if they don't allow us to like even shout out our players' names, I'll just be just so upset about that.
That would pump me up if they did like an homage to like the 2017 team. Like
that'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, if they did like a video montage of like, hey, we've been here before and we're here again.
Yeah.
And this time we're gonna go to the final. Like that attitude, that would be.
Let's make that a tweet, Sam. We gotta send that out, because I don't think anyone's really taken the perspective of we've been here before. But you're right. The last time we were in the final or the Final Four, right? That was the game.
Yeah.
We're back and we're ready to make the final. Let's do it.
And we're not the Giants, but we're in the MLS now, right?
Yeah.
So we're here.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Kind of on like a preview side of things, predicting lineups. Let's kind of get into that a little bit. if we have Mascara hopefully back, we'll find out tomorrow if he's
We
healthy
definitely have
enough.
Miazga back.
Miazga will be back. Barrial will be in there. I
Thank
think
God for
Arias has got to
that.
start out wide right, in my opinion.
I hope so. Yeah. So I was gonna say earlier, speaking on the whole Halsey situation, it's got to be Barrial, Arias, and Halsey, our top three backs.
Yeah.
Like those have to be the consistent rotation.
Yeah,
Everyone
for sure.
else fall in line after that.
Yeah, so that's the back. I think they roll out Can in the back. I really do. I think in the US Open Cup, I mean, even the way that Celentano played, yesterday and had some good saves, you trust your dude that's been playing in this cup competition and a guy that's played in more of a tournament style throughout the entire year, over, somebody who hasn't really played in that style. I think if I'm correct on this, the US Open Cup will have extra time. And then we'll go to a PK shootout. So,
which we'd rather have Alec Khan in a PK shootout.
So to that point, if we go to extra time, I think we're allotted one substitution, which would potentially allow for him to come in if Celentano were to start even, which kind of opens up possibilities there on, do you want your regular starter out there against Messi, or do you want the guy that's been playing in these cup competitions? I honestly, it'd be a flip of the coin for me, and I'd be happy with either the way that they're both playing.
Yeah. How rare is that, do you think?
For sure.
Substituting a goalkeeper in extra time.
Well, Nashville did it for all their League Cup games. Well, it wasn't like extra time. It was the end of the game because they saw it was going to PKs. But I think it happens more if you have a guy that you're really confident in PK shootout situations.
Yeah.
So touching on, I guess, moving up in the midfield, I think Obi will be there. He's suspended for Saturday's game against NYCFC, but he'll be playing, on Wednesday, which will be good. He'll be the X factor trying to keep Messi under.
He's got to be the
check.
guy marking Messi. He's got to be, but
he's got to be pre-Columbus Crew though. I mean, what the heck happened to Obi last night?
It was bad. It was bad. It was probably one of the worst games we've ever seen Obi play.
He was playing like a center back. He gave him so much space last night. I mean, like you said, Sam, if you give Messi that kind of space, he's going to score every single time. So I really think that he's got to show up in a bigger way. It will be very interesting to see who they put next to him, though, just especially the way that Mourinho has been playing.
We're calling for Angulo.
I really would love to see a young Marco Angulo get in there and just scrap.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I want him in a situation where like there's potential for mistakes and Mourinho's like played in higher stakes settings.
But Messi would dance on him if given the chance. I know he would.
I don't know, man. On Mourinho?
No, Angulo.
On Angulo? I mean, Angulo wouldn't like take no crap though, is what I'm saying.
Well, no, yeah, but as far as mistakes, right?
Yeah, that's the truth. They would pounce on.
I think on the ball, he's good on the ball. Right. Moreno is very accurate with his passes. Right. He's good on that point. But from an energy standpoint, I think we want Angulo because he's got a little bit more energy. I feel like playing somebody like Messi would want him to like, all right, hey, this is a huge game. Like for me as a player, like I need to show not only, the world, but I need to show Messi, like, I'm relevant, Do
you remember the game against Nashville right before the Leagues Cup break?
Yeah.
The big lead up to the game was Hani Mukhtar versus Lucho Acosta for MVP.
Yeah, no competition after that one, yeah.
And what did we ask of him? We said, you show up if you want to show that you're the MVP. Look at this game against Inter Miami when Lucho is going to be playing against his idol, his countryman, the guy that he took photos with on the field.
After the World
Cup when they won, he's going to come out and probably play the best game of his life. I'm calling it right now. Lucho's going to play inspired. He's going to be running around the field. He's going to leave his heart on the field. I am ready for it.
I'm hoping we see this, but this should be a zero pout game.
Yeah, true. Good call.
You know what I mean? Like this, I don't care what kind of mistakes your teammates or you make. Like you give away the ball, like you're on the, like you're
You
giving
don't have
energy.
time to pout.
Exactly. You don't have time to pout because Messi's taking the ball on your side and he's, making some plays happen. So I really want to see, like you had talked about, like I want to see him play extremely inspired because he is playing against his idol.
Yeah, that'll be really cool. Him and Barrial both being Argentinian, I think they'll both.
Oh yeah.
You try to show out against this guy, I mean, absolutely, you're gonna do it. We're not gonna overcompensate, in my opinion, and they're not gonna just play out of left field and just be wild and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I I think the fact that you play so badly against Columbus and then you have this game and you have more of an inspiration to show that you're better than that one, that prior game is what I'm referring to, and then you're playing against the best player arguably of all time. I mean, you show out. I think you do, and especially in a setting like this, what a better, no better time to have
So
this.
moving on to the back line, obviously, if Mascara is healthy, we got Mascara, Miazga. Who is our third center back?
Ooh, Sam, who do we want between Murphy and Hagelin in this game? I think I really do. I really think that they play Hagelin because they took him out at halftime. He played Zlatan.
I don't, dude.
A Hagelin next to
How many
Murphy and
how many years
Mascara.
ago was that? How many years ago was that?
Hagelin next to Murphy and Mascara is better in that right center back spot than having Murphy on the right being a left-footed center back. They could put Mascara on the right and have Murphy on the left.
Yeah,
But
but
Barrial is
your
going to be
dominant foot,
going up
yeah.
too high. I feel like they need Mascara's cover,
Yeah.
especially because Lionel Messi plays primarily on the right wing and will drift inside.
And I'd rather have Mascara on that
I'd
side.
rather have Mascara on that side, 100%.
I
Be
just know
interesting.
Hagelin's gonna get crossed at least once this game. At least once. Like,
Just let it be 50 yards from goal.
the man's gonna touch the ground. It's gonna be I
We're not looking forward to it, but it's going to
no.
happen. And we already know it. As long as it doesn't ruin the game, then we'll be good.
Yes, as long as
Moving
it does not
along.
affect the game or scoreline. It does not affect the scoreline. We're fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Starters for striker. What are your pick after this brutality of a front line we had against Columbus?
So I mean, we had up top, we had Vasquez and Boop.
He
I
rolls
think
out the same.
I think they'll go. I think they'll go with the same. To be honest
Yeah.
with you,
Yeah.
they'll go with the same lineup. I mean, does something need to change? I don't know. I don't know if Santos is going to give you something different than Bupenza, or he's going to give you something different. I mean, obviously, plays a different game than Vasquez does, but
Right.
theoretically, like, that top half should make sense.
I
right?
think that they bring Santos off the bench because of the fact that Miami's played so many weeks in a row. Their back line would probably be a little bit more tired, theoretically. You bring Santos in to kind of be that spark.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously, like, Bupenza should do. I mean, he's maybe a little slower than Santos is a fast guy, right?
Right.
But Bupenza's fast as well. And once again, I'm open for a big game from him. I really want to see him take those Inter Miami defenders one-on-one, get into space where he's able to curl it in, or, maybe a little toe poke here, in the bottom right corner, bottom left, like just being a poacher, right? And I think, I mean, up top has to be better. It's just got to be better cohesion. And
It's got to be, dude, the communication, none of the balls between them were on to each other. I mean, when they would run this way, they would play it the other way. I mean, you got to clear that up now.
Honestly, worst case scenario is that the pressure on Acosta to live up to the hype in front of his idol crumbles him to the point where he's yelling at Bupenza again.
Yeah, I feel like he's gonna play inspired though, to where, like you said.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Worst case scenario.
Yeah,
like, that's.
I'm hoping not. I'm hoping not. but I could see the frustration kind of building from
Yeah.
game to game in that aspect of things. But um, I think they'll work it out. I think they'll get it right. They did against Chivas. I mean, that was one game where you could really see the front line was gelling.
That was all Vasquez.
Vasquez was, but Bupenza created at least one assist on it, and Acosta plays the ball through to Barrial, who plays one to Vasquez. I mean, those guys are your main guys for creation.
Fair.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just got to be better than what we saw, and that's the main thing. Especially playing like we keep saying, Messi. We were playing Busquets in the middle. I mean, he's going to try to dominate a midfield, and we saw how, the crew dominated our midfield. So we got to be better there. And then looking at the other thing I wanted to say was Jordi Alba. Jordi Alba is going to be playing high up and trying to play balls into Messi. And that's where I think that Arias can hopefully, manage some of that. There's probably some familiarity there, both playing in the same league. So we'll see. That'll be an interesting matchup, in my opinion, as well. I'll be kind of curious to see if they play some more of the rookies intermixed, similar to what they did in Leagues Cup. Look to see Campana come off the bench probably as a sub later on in the game if it's close as well. But the biggest point that I want to make about this game is the importance of coming out and scoring early. Messi has scored early in every single game. Have you noticed that? Except for the one that he had the free kick on, I think.
Yeah.
We have to come out. We have to show that we are not the team we were in Columbus, to get the fans going, to build the energy, to get the offense kind of rolling. The offense will kind of feed off of that. And the guys will play harder, and they'll not feel like defeated right away if we get scored on. You know what I mean? So all in all, we're very excited about it. It's going to be a heck of a game. I mean,
both going to be in attendance.
Yeah, we'll both be there. Very excited to obviously see one of the best of all time play. It's like watching Michael Jordan, lace up. I mean, that's special, especially in a point where, they're not even kind of on like a decline. I mean, they just won this trophy and he didn't really show any signs of playing down. I don't think that's in his vocabulary. So you always want to see that as a soccer or football fan. So that'll be really cool to see the atmosphere in terms of like, we're obviously going to have a huge, fan base there. I just hope that people did not sell their tickets for the prices that they were going for to Miami fans, to people that aren't really interested. That would be the only thing that I'm kind of a little bit hesitant about, that we had seen a little bit during Leagues Cup, is some of the prices were going, some people were selling to try to get money off of it. And it kind of created a mixed atmosphere. And I really just want our best foot forward. I want our Bailey support there. I think it will. This game has been known for a while now. I just would love to see it at its peak, and like we had talked about earlier, our team feeds off of that. So
yeah, I'm right there with you. I hope the atmosphere is exactly what we want it to be.
Yeah. Real quickly, score prediction for this game, Sam.
That's tough. I'm gonna go 1-0 FC.
Yeah, I think I'm not too far behind. I'm gonna go 2-1. I feel like it might go to extra time, and then we get an extra time goal, because I wouldn't want to go into PKs against Drew Callender, the guy that had just really good PK shootouts in Leagues Cup. So you obviously know at least 3 of those guys are made for moments like that, so you don't want to let it get to that point. I think we go 2-1 now. So any final thoughts on this preview? Obviously we still do have a MLS game against NYCFC this coming Saturday. This is our brief 1-minute preview of this game. NYCFC just lost this game, yesterday against Minnesota. They do have a couple guys they brought in the transfer window. They are kind of like mid-table, I want to say, but we're playing at home. We're without Obi. Depending on the result Wednesday, I think is really going to dictate how we show up. But really our main focus is obviously on the semifinal game for sure. What are your thoughts on Saturdays real quick?
Yeah, I think to your point, we already have a win against NYCFC on their home grounds, their awful home grounds. And so, this is a chance to hopefully build off a win from the US Open Cup into another game, right? And just continuing to get our momentum back, to get, that energy back that we've had throughout the season. But yeah, I think a team like NYCFC is always like, they seem to have like a new energy, right? And they have a pretty darn good CDM in Sands, and so we will be without ours. So it'll be interesting to see who commands the middle of the field in that game.
Especially the fact that they won't have a midweek game too, and just so many emotions going between rivalry, then Miami. Easy to call NYCFC a trap game, especially coming off a loss at the Crew and kind of slipping a little bit in Supporters Shield. We got to have a solid outing. I mean, I can't stress it enough. If we want to be legendary, that's the game to win.
Be legendary.
Be legendary. So our trivia question again and recap here. How many current FC Cincinnati players have played Messi in their career, whether club or for country? Sam had locked in 2, kind of butchered that one a little bit earlier there on, but naming the players would kind of be the more important part of it. Sam said Yuya Kubo and Matt Miazga for respective Japan and for the United States in playing Argentina. You didn't get either, man.
What?
You didn't get either. Yeah, Santiago Arias. Atletico Madrid right back.
That makes so much sense.
He's played, Jordi Alba, Busquets. He's played Messi multiple times.
Yeah,
and he played for the Colombia national team, who's played, Argentina plenty of times as well.
That's on me. Yeah.
Second one, Junior Moreno has played for Venezuela.
Yeah, Venezuela
against Argentina. And actually kind of interesting here, in the games that Moreno has played, so not including the ones where he's on the bench, but games that he's actually played, the Venezuela team had won 1, tied 1, and lost 1. So building kind of to our preview for this Inter Miami game, you touch upon playing against Messi. You have 2 guys in your locker room that have done it.
Yeah.
You go to those guys and you say what worked, what didn't work. You at least have guys that are in a little bit more of a defensive type role that you can look upon to say, how do you defend 3 of these players? How do we come out? What are the nuances that you've seen? I mean, Arias has played them several times. So there's no, big moment factor for at least a few of them. I'm sure, like we've touched upon, for some of the guys that this is their idol, it'll be huge. But like Sam said earlier, we'll kind of close this out here on this point. Let's bring the US Open Cup semifinal magic back to Cincinnati. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. Let's make a final. Let's go win at least one trophy. We'll see you all next week after we beat Messi. Sound like a plan, Sam?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. See you guys next week.